Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're diving into the hot drama from Brno. Marco Bezzecchi has been suspended and banned from racing in the Czech Grand Prix. Aprilia immediately lodged an appeal, but it was thrown out. So how did all this unfold? Why did the FIM come down so hard? And who stands to gain the most from this whole saga? All the answers are right here in this video, so stick around until the end because I've got a cracking question for you lot at the finish. Right, let's start from the very beginning. This all went down at Brno, Czech Republic during Saturday's sprint race. Bezzecchi was out there racing and then he crashed. Bike down, rider down. Pretty standard stuff in MotoGP, to be honest. But what happened after that crash? That's where things got anything but standard. After Bezzecchi crashed out of the sprint, he became involved in an altercation with a Marshal, one of the officials whose job it is to keep the circuit safe. Now, the issue here isn't the crash itself. The issue is what Bezzecchi did once he was back on his feet. The official FIM MotoGP Stewards document states that following the crash, Bezzecchi pushed and struck Marshals who were in the process of recovering his machine. Now, Marshals are far from ordinary bystanders. They're official volunteers and personnel whose entire purpose is to keep the circuit safe. They recover fallen bikes, wave the danger flags, assist riders in distress. Simply put, they're there for everyone's safety, including Bezzecchi's own. And yet the very people who were there to help him were the ones he turned on. Naturally, this became an enormous problem almost immediately. The FIM MotoGP stewards moved swiftly. After holding a hearing directly with Bezzecchi to allow him to present his side of events, the FIM MotoGP stewards officially handed down a suspension, meaning Bezzecchi would not be permitted to take part in the Czech Grand Prix main race on Sunday. The action was deemed a breach of Article 3.3.2.2, classified as conduct prejudicial to the interests of the sport. The official language is rather stiff, but the plain English of it is this: you cannot get physical with someone who is trying to assist you. That's a basic principle, not just in MotoGP, but in everyday life as well. The penalty was announced at 19:52 local time in Brno. And naturally, Aprilia, as Bezzecchi's team, weren't about to take that lying down. Aprilia lodged their appeal shortly after the suspension was announced, and the appeal hearings were held between 2005 and 2037, remarkably quickly. Present at those hearings were Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola, team manager Paolo Bonora, and from the stewards panel, Simon Krafar, Tamara Matko, and Andres Somolinos. So this was no minor hearing. The chief executive himself came to the table. Aprilia were clearly pulling every lever they had. They wanted Bezzecchi on the grid Sunday morning, but the result? Appeal dismissed. The FIM Appeal Stewards stated they had carefully considered all available evidence, including video footage, official reports, and the full circumstances surrounding the incident. And here's the most interesting part of their reasoning. They didn't simply dismiss Bezzecchi's emotional state out of hand. The appeal stewards acknowledged that riders involved in accidents may experience frustration, disappointment, and heightened emotion immediately following a crash, but made clear that such circumstances cannot excuse or justify physical aggression directed towards circuit personnel performing their official duties. So in plain terms, yes, we understand you were emotional. That still doesn't make it acceptable. The FIM further emphasized that circuit marshals and other safety officials are fundamental to the safe conduct of motorcycle sport, often placing themselves in close proximity to moving motorcycles and other dangers in order to protect competitors and ensure the event runs safely. That statement carries real weight. The FIM is essentially saying marshals are the unsung heroes of MotoGP. They are there for you. Attacking them is therefore a serious matter indeed. The stewards also made clear that physical aggression towards marshals is wholly unacceptable in professional motorsport, regardless of the circumstances leading to the incident, and that failure to respond firmly would risk sending the wrong message to every other competitor in the championship. The implication being, if this goes unpunished, others might assume the same behavior is permissible. And that's a dangerous precedent to set. Now let's talk about what this actually means beyond the courtroom drama. Bezzecchi is racing with Aprilia Racing this season, wearing number 72, and he's been genuinely competitive. Losing an entire race weekend at the Czech GP is a serious blow, not just in terms of points, but also in terms of momentum and his overall championship position. A revised starting grid for the Czech GP main race was issued once Bezzecchi's suspension was formally confirmed. That means every grid position shuffled accordingly, and naturally, Bezzecchi's rivals in the standings are the ones who stand to benefit most from his absence. One name that immediately stands out, Jorge Martin emerged from the Brno Sprint Race in a position very close to the top of the MotoGP World Championship standings. Without Bezzecchi on the grid for Sunday's main event, that's one less threat for the title contenders to worry about. And for Aprilia as a constructor, this is a double blow. Points lost from one of their lead riders, and the team's name dragged into a rather embarrassing episode in the process. For those perhaps less familiar with him, Marco Bezzecchi is an Italian rider known for an aggressive and emotionally charged racing style. On one hand, that's precisely what makes him so exciting to watch. On the other, heightened emotion in high-stakes moments can sometimes work against a rider in the worst possible way. If you cast your mind back, this isn't the first time Bezzecchi has been in the spotlight for his emotional temperament on track. Sprint races, by their very nature, are more intense, shorter distance, higher stakes, immense pressure compressed into a tighter window. Crashing out of one is already painful enough. The frustration is absolutely understandable, but the decision made in those few seconds after the crash ultimately proved to be the defining moment of his entire weekend. Interestingly, the full video footage hasn't been widely circulated publicly. What we know comes from the official FIM documents, pushed and struck Marshals. Whether that was a deliberate act or an impulsive emotional reaction in the heat of the moment remains a point of debate across the MotoGP community. But from the FIM's perspective, the answer is unambiguous. Intentional or not, it cannot be tolerated. Naturally, opinion is divided on this one. Those who back the punishment argue, quite right too, discipline in motorsport matters enormously. Marshals operate in genuinely hazardous conditions and deserve proper protection. Attacking them, whatever the circumstances, must carry real consequences. Those who feel the penalty is excessive counter. A full race suspension is an extremely heavy sanction for what amounted to a single emotional flashpoint in the immediate aftermath of a big crash. Perhaps a financial penalty or championship points deduction would have been more proportionate. And there are those questioning the process itself, from the incident to the initial penalty, then the appeal, then the final verdict. Everything was resolved within a matter of hours on the very same day. Was that truly sufficient time to conduct a thorough and fair process? All reasonable perspectives and all worth sitting with. So there you have it, the full story from Brno. Marco Bezzecchi loses the Czech Grand Prix through a single explosive moment following his crash. Aprilia fought tooth and nail through the appeals process, but the FIM held firm. The suspension stands. The broader lesson here is perhaps a simple one. However fierce the competition gets out on the circuit, there are lines that simply cannot be crossed, and laying hands on someone who is there to help you is one of those lines. Now here's the question I want to put to you, and I genuinely want to see your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think a one-race suspension was the right call? Too harsh, or frankly, not harsh enough? Drop your answer below, and while you're at it, let me know whether you're siding with those who feel sympathy for Bezzecchi, given the raw emotion of the moment, or whether you're firmly in the camp that says the FIM had to draw a hard line to protect the Marshals. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please do give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your fellow MotoGP fans. It genuinely is the simplest way to support what we're doing here. See you in the next one, because the 2026 MotoGP season is only getting warmer from here.